Networking is something that the training is good, so we have to improve or to introduce open networking to people, because nowadays more customers want to make the change from the old version, like legacy products, just to change to open networking, which provide a kind of flexibility to customers, just to customize their own solution. So that's going to be the agenda for today. So I'm going to give you a brief overview about the company and then introduce what is open networking. And for these, for the type of products we have for open networking, based on data center, sell-side routers, aggregation series, telco disaggregation products we have, and then core routers. After that, I'm going to talk about the core system, like system integrator ecosystem we have, based on some NOS partner we are cooperating with. And then later on, I'm going to introduce eSonic to you. That provides a lot of flexibility to customers. Depending on the model of business you have, we still have a chance to cooperate with you. But basically, HCORP provides a range of products from teleco, data center enterprise, NOS, as I said, eSonic, and wireless products. So we have plenty of routing switches. HCORP is a company that is a spin-off in 2004 from A10. A10 is our mother company. So A10 is a Tier-1 manufacturer company in Taiwan that's keep producing for plenty of big brands in the market. So for last year, we shipped more than 3.3 million products around the world. So we have our own brand that we are selling on the HCORP. We sell the products everywhere. We provide flexible solutions to customers, and then we are the leader in disaggregation in the market. So we cooperate with plenty of projects that initiate this idea of open networking in the market. So this information I will give about A10, which is our mother company. So that is one of Tier-1 ODM that is produced, as I mentioned, for plenty of customers. So in data centers, basically, even though the COVID hit us a little bit strong, but in 2020, we had a chance just to ship over $6.48 million around the world. That includes export brands and ODM we do for other companies. Okay, so we have over 5,000 employees, and then we have over 1,000 engineers there just to help you, whatever the solutions you need, whatever the kind of a solution you want to tailor. So you can come to us, we will try to help you, and our engineers will listen to you, take it into account all your requests, and then we will provide something interesting to you. Even though you want to customize something that already exists, so we still can help you. Okay, normally, HCORP is an innovative company. We always try to provide some new products, we always try to find or to solve some existing product and existing problem in the market, just to help our customers. Basically, when we find out there is a problem that's needed to solve, so our engineers and us, and then based on the feedback we receive from our customers, so we try to solve it in advance, just to make it easy for our customers. That's why in 2014, we were the first one accepted by OCP. That is Open Computing Project. So in 3 years later, our AP was the first AP accepted as well by OCP. In 2018, we are the first networking manufacturer that provide 400 gig switches in the market. And then GPONs, XPONs, VoLTE, and cell-side routers, we're the one that provide it first in the market. Talking about this year, so we are the first one that have a real deployment of royalties. Because currently, we are cooperating with some software. As I mentioned, HCORP is a company that will provide only hardware. For software, we only provide only that is open sources, but we provide only support and services. So, what is our mission exactly? If we are producing for customers, and what we want to achieve, what we want to help customers, solve the problem. Normally, we try to provide innovative products and solutions to customers just to meet their needs and to help them serve their own customers as well. So to do that, we develop or produce high quality, first class products that can help customers to use and to provide a better service to their own customers. So you might ask yourself, there are plenty of other vendors in the market. Why do you have to buy from A10? Once again, the type of a hardware we provide, they are best quality of products. And then the software solution, we help other customers develop those kind of things. There are some high quality and a first-hand solution. And in terms of professional service, everyone knows that in the market. It's hard to compete with some other vendors that usually, I would say that they're already well-branched in the market. But at A10, we prioritize quality, best service, quality service, and then high-class product just to get our market share. So the competition is really fierce, but we believe in our capacity to meet it. So this gives you an idea about our footprint. So where we have a connection, let's say that we have factories and then offices around the world. So we have a second headquarters that is in USA. So we sell to all the countries in the North America and Central or South America as well. All of these places, they are on the USA headquarters. So for this session, we want to know how A10 wants to transform the way people connect. You know, in the past, when you have a cell phone, let's say that like a Nokia, you have it decided with some, maybe 3 or 4 games for you. You just use them. If you don't want to play them again, okay, that's it. That's all. There's nothing you can do. But nowadays, we have iOS, we have Android that give you a lot of opportunity. You can download or you can install any program you want. That gives you plenty of flexibility to play or to do whatever you want with this. Because now we talk about smartphone. That is the same with open networking and the old system. Another example, like before Cisco, they provide you with the switch and then with their software. If there is any other feature you need and Cisco doesn't have, there's nothing you can do. But with open networking, we said that's not possible. Customers are supposed to have the right to decide or to install or to do whatever they want to do. They can customize. So that is what open networking comes. That is such kind of problem. Open networking provides a solution for that. Flexibility. Give customers more right instead of following what vendors offer. This image just illustrates like a big name that previously like any other switch you might buy. Basically, I would say that when you buy this, oh, this switch is $10. Okay, it's cheap. But you are going to pay a lot of money for software. Whatever you want to buy, oh, I want to add this. Okay, they add this. So that even though at the beginning you didn't think, oh, that's gonna be so costly, but in the end, when you take a look, oh, you spend a lot of money. Before you didn't take it this way. Okay, so that gives you this one, that is the old system. That's the old system. But for open networking, you see that here we mentioned H-Core, because I'm representing H-Core, but even any other company that provides switches, open networking, you have the possibility to use even Cisco software. You can use Juniper, Adva, IPN Fusion, and then you can have a bundle solution. But this bundle solution, like for example, you want to serve a customer, but they request you to deliver the solutions in 2 months. But you order the switch or the software from a customer, they said, oh, the lead time is gonna be 6 months. There is nothing you can do. But if you find another customer or another service where they sell you only the hardware, the lead time is 3 months. And then you can take the software somewhere else. So you can serve the customer on time. But if you don't have you don't have such kind of flexibility, you must wait till 6 months to serve your customer. So in such kind of situation, you might lose the deal. They might go to another customer that have stock because they cannot wait for you until you get everything. Okay, and this also illustrates what we call disaggregation. That is, we just separate software and hardware. As I mentioned, flexibility is the most important in this. And then price also. The cost is lower compared to when you buy it once from only one vendor. Okay, these are the benefits you can get from disaggregation. Second source, you don't find from this customer, you find from another customer. And then you will take the software somewhere else. Better efficiency for merging, yes, you don't stop with them. And then for the hardware, it's longer bonds. For this, I believe currently we have such kind of opportunity to decide, to choose what software or which software we want for our customer. Because when you buy the white box, you check all the customers or all the software they are offering in the market based on the feature you are looking for. You can choose it. You can go with that software partner. But nobody is going to tell you, oh, you have to stay on this. So in this adventure, there are plenty steps, there are plenty effort we do just to be where we are. Last time I mentioned open compute projects. We have platinum members in this. For telecom infra projects, I believe you all know TIP. Currently, they have a big project. They are using our Cassini, package transport, these kind of things. TIP, actually, it looks like this project looks like the same as Meta. I don't know if you know Meta, like Facebook. Those kind of things provide easy wireless, internet, those kind of things. That is something based on open networking. And then we are in OF since in 2014. Regarding Sony, we are one of the most important contributors in Sony. What I mean by that, you know, Sony, that is a free software. That is we usually talk about community Sony because anyone can cooperate. For example, if you realize that there is a problem, if you are good at coding, if you can solve some problem, you can just try to solve it, and then after that you are going to submit it. They are going to evaluate it. If everything is okay, they are going to accept it. So at H-Core, we are one of the supporter or contributor, important contributor in this. So that's why currently we have something called eSony. And we are not the only one that's using Sony, because anyone can have their own version of Sony. That's going to depend on the feature you are going to help, or you are going to provide as well, and the kind of problem you are going to help your customer solve with this. Okay. So regarding our products, now I would like to introduce the data center products to you. At H-Core, we have a data center product, or we have switches from 1 gigs to 400 gigs ports. depending on the use case, depending on what you are looking for, depending on what you want to achieve, we can provide you with a product. For data center, we have three types of three group of products, like for spine switches, lift, and data center management switches. So all of them, they are to be different. They help customers to achieve a specific, needs. They help them for that. So for this, for spine switch, we have from the series DCS 500 series, which have plenty of different model, plenty of software in this series. And then the last one, or the highest one, is the 64 times 400 gigs port. Currently we have. That can help you to realize plenty of things that you can't even imagine. For the leaf switches, we have the 10 gigs, 25 gigs, and even small, better than that in the market. So that is the DCS 200 series. That's have plenty of other models. So later on I will just let you have a quick look about the difference between each of them. And then the last one is for the management switches. That is 1 gig with some 10 gigs port SFP plus such kind of things, just to help customers. This kind of series, it's basically used like for campus networking, those kind of things, internet. Currently, we have the last series we just issued this year. That is 4630 series. Some of them are multi-gig switches, and then some of them is not multi-gig, but that provides you plenty of choices depending on what you are looking for. So this table gives you a quick overview as a sample comparison about the type of the model of products we have in the spine switches. So last time I talked about the biggest one, which is the last one, the DCS 520. So we also have an AS, a 9736. For this kind of model, we give possibility. Customer can even use P4 program. That gives you opportunity to program or to write code or to modify to do whatever you want with it. For the last one, AS9736. For that series, we use Intel chipset for them. And then as you can see, in terms of a temperature where they can use even the level from 0 to over 40, about up to 40 degrees. So that's not going to be a problem. And we provide front and back airflow as well. For the lift switches, we have that is basically they are 10 gigs, 25 gigs switches. So we still use Intel chipset for this series. And then we provide as well front back airflow just to make it cooling. And in terms of PSU and fan, we always have redundant fans and then dual PSU. So what I mean by dual PSU, even though, like for example, when the switch is, if it's in the system is working, one of the PSU fail, that's not going to give any problem to your system. The other one will start or will work automatically without any problem. And then for this, if you want to solve or if you want to fix that PSU, you can pull it out and then go and then just fix it. You let the switch with only one PSU. After that, you can replace it without any problem. So that's not gonna give any inconvenience to your system. So for enterprise management switch model, so as I mentioned last time, the series 4630, this new series just replaced an old series we had before, was 4610, because this one it provides has more capacity and then give customers more chance to realize better things compared to the 4610. For this, we have some models, they are multi-gigs, where 2.5, 5 gigs, 10 gigs, 1 gigs in only one switch. So because some customers usually request for this, I saw that in legacy products, So we just try to experience it for open networking. We believe that might help them. And for this series of switches, they use them a lot for a campus project. Like when you are going to have a free Wi-Fi, even for some other places like in hotel, for hospitality, they use this series a lot. We have this last one, which is Cassini, basically for TIP projects. The TIP project is based on this one, Cassini. That provides a lot of advantage to customers. That is for what you call data center interconnected for this one, Cassini. Because if you see for the highlight, you also have the MagSec. Currently, I believe you do know that MagSec is one of the features plenty of customers are looking for in the products. Because nowadays it's quite really simple, it's quite easy for some hacker, just hack your system, those kind of things. Even though before we have some other ways just to protect the system, but now MagSec is something that people are looking for a lot. So this, he also has MagSec. And this that gives you a brief description about the products. So in case that you want to know more about the Cassini, we do have some case study about it. We have use case on our website. Feel free to check them, and then you will get a better idea about Cassini. And don't forget that this is based on the TIP projects. And TIP projects is something global around the world. And then TIP keep cooperating with plenty of customers. We at HCore, we only support with the hardware, but for the software, TIP take responsibility for that. So now I'm going to introduce another type of product or series. That is the cell-site routers. For cell-site routers, those kind of switches, they use them basically like in telecommunication projects. This gives you an idea from the lowest or the smallest switch, or in terms of capacity we have, till the highest one. As you can see, the lowest is 64 gigabyte and up to 800. But for these, we do have another one in roadmap that's going to be 1.3 or 1.4 terabytes. That's going to be for next year. So all of them, this portfolio, just provide you with flexible Ethernet. I will give you a brief idea about each of the units separately. This one that is the smallest one, the light model, it's come with airflow side. That is the only one who put it. The airflow is side by side, so it's not a front to back or back to front. So for this, you can see it only has 6 port of 10 gigs. And then it even has a 1 gig port. So this one is really small. This one we provide it because there are some customers, they don't want to buy a big switch, but they still have some projects that necessitate such kind of switches. So we provide this small one to them. So there is a CRS 300. For this one, before there was a big customer, European customer. Just use this for their own, and then they just customize it for their projects. But we still have this model. This model is basically help customers just to in some projects where they are going to use a fiber, because that is based on what the other customers was customize this one. For that, they use a kind of a GPS in this one, because that is U-blocks that's help you for this, even though like provide you a kind of management console we have, wherever you have, based on your system, you can control the switch, you can control your system. You can even check. Like, for example, if you have a big system and then you offer some service to different customers, they are using it. Even at home where you are, you can control this system, you can control their own system to check if they have a problem, they ask you just to try to remotely fix it. Basically, if you can just check at distance and then to do it. This provides you such kind of flexibility, such kind of ability. Okay, for the CIS-10, that is a light version from the previous one. Because the previous one was a little bit expensive based on customers. So we create a light version for them that has some ports lower than the other one. And then this one is cheaper, but we don't add this type of GPS and then some other component because they request to have it such way. Because there are sometimes we provide a product to the customer, there are some capability or ability what the products can help customers to achieve, but they don't need all of them. So they ask you to give them something a little bit better or lower with lower price. We do that as well. For this one, that is a CSR 320. This is one of the last version we have. This is based on Intel Broadwell chipset. This has a bigger capacity compared to the previous one. For this, it gives a possibility to customers not only to have what the CSR-10 has, but to have even more features that can help them to achieve some other things they want to do. Like for example, if you check, for this they have a 200 gigs port. For this, that's allow them, later on I will show you some use case or some topology where you can use them. That will show you the kind of flexibility. Because when we provide a product higher or better than the previous one, that is based on customers' request and what or any kind of solution or any kind of problem we realize that there is in the market or customer faces, so we want to help them to solve. So that is the last one. So that's gonna be in Q4, it's gonna be available, but currently we still have some units testing. So this, before we were taking about even use TCAM for this to provide a big possibility, but customer request to put out the TCAM according to the price, those kind of things. So for this one, is not available yet, but if customer needs sample based on your projects, so you still can get. Okay, so why do you want to use the CSR products? Normally, the chipset we use, that is the Broadcom Chrome, as I mentioned last time, from the lowest capacity we have is 64, it's about up to 800. So it has high performance, it helps customers access navigation networks. That is another advantage you have. In terms of temperature, last time I mentioned, you can work from 0 up to 40 degrees, depending on the temperature. It is a quite important product. That is, many customers, they use it like for telecom, when they are planning to deploy like 5G, internet, those kind of things. So they use it, and the cost as well is important. It's not quite expensive compared to other type of products if you want to put them together. Basically, our open networking switches, they come with a sample software, we call it ONI. This sample software gives you the possibility to install any other types of software you want to install. It looks like, I would say that is, without the ONI, you cannot do anything on the project. This gives you something just to manage the software, the products very well. And then our product is certified, like for all the type C, E, all of them. So these are some case study, or let's say that's some topology, how you can deploy. I mean CSR, that is use case for 2, 3, 4, 5G mobile backhaul. So that is, if you have only one CSR, you can use plenty of fibers, those kind of things, layer 3 VPN, and then I already call so QoS, So it's synchronized as well. That is an option we have in traffic engineering. For this one, we can use GPON. By the way, we at each core we also have GPON, XPON as well. So you can use it with aggregation routers, Ethernet switch. So it's gonna depend on your needs, what you want to do. So for this system, that is you can use with top rack switch, and then you have VPLS feature also, and then like aggregation, multi-chassis, multi-line. So if you don't have a stacking options, you can use multi-line for that. So that's the flexibility you have when you are using this one. This is a feature of X-hole routers. But what you can use with a cell-side router. Okay. So these, as you can see, we provide there are some places when you have you can use up to 400 or 100 gigs of length for backhaul, and then front haul application. We have options as well. So with this series, you can achieve all of these things. So it's gonna depend on you. So by the way, is there any customer here for telecommunication? I mean, specifically telecommunication or so that's when you may not be interested about cell-side router, because that is basically for telecommunication. Okay, so that is for aggregation routers. Last time we talked about this aggregation, so we have also for aggregation routers, so we may not stay too long on them. So up to from 800 to 2.4 terabytes. These are the types of, or the models that we have with different specification, and then the type of CPU we use, or different type of chipset. So the capacity, I mean in terms of ports, how many ports they have. So all these products as well, they are using for telecommunication. That is for this spine switch. That is still in a aggregation switch. So this, we provided with only 4 ports of 400 gigs. But after that, we plus concentrate on 100 gigs. That is a small switch, even though the capacity is still a little bit high, 2.4 terabytes. Because this one, we provided with 4 gigs deep buffer based on the customer request, and then we just customize this switch, and then but we still commercialize it. And then there is a lift switch as well. This one, that is a QM2C. That is one we are going to shoot, or we are going to launch in this quarter. So they are based for telecommunication. As there is nobody here for telecommunication, you may not stay too long. Last time I mentioned about the PSU. So as you can see, this type of PSU and the fan, the switch has redundant fans, and then the PSU. Dual PSU, you can put them one out anytime, even though the other one will still function working. Even though one of them failed, you can put it just to fix, and after that you can replace it without any problem, without stopping or your system. So for core routers, we have some big switches, like using Jericho 1, Jericho 2. We have 4 core routers. These one, later on I will show you a kind of topology where we can use the core routers, Jericho, chipset 1 and Jericho 2, or with Ramon, just for your system. For these, that give you a strong capacity, or a lot of, probably if your data center only says that the system you have, if you don't need all these ones, it might be a little bit difficult. But currently, as some telecommunication companies, they are able to try to shift or try to put at least 40%. I mean, in the RFP, request about 40% of open networking, because they want to experience it and want to see how that can work for them. So that is the Ramon, a fabric switches. So for this, that is a kind of topology where we can use Ramon and Jericho. For this one, as you can see, for if you want to have the largest configuration for it, but for that one it has a 505 ports. All of them that you can consider as a leaf, and then the Jericho has 13 ports for spine. So if you use the Ramon with 13 ports of a 500 gigs, so then you use the Jericho too. So for this, you can have you use a mesh, a cable mesh. You can have a strong system. So later on, I will show you this, the topology, how you can fix it, and then the capacity or the quantity of watts you can use for that. This gives you a simple idea about it. For example, if you have 1 or 2 meters, 400 cable is sufficient just to have such kind of thing, 60 watt, or you use it. But when you use a Ramon and the Jericho in the system, so as you can see, this model, they are using the QSFP28, that is a strong transceiver. So that gives you one advantage. That is another large deployment. The previous one was the smallest, but for this one, you can even consume up to 36,510 watt. For this, we show you how economical it is, and then how you can use these two models just for your system. But basically, as I mentioned, that's more related to telecommunication. So these are some case study, or let's say that's some deployment we had before. So as we see Telefonica, where they use the RAIN system for it, we have points, and then ASBIS and Telefonica as well. So there is a POC ongoing. We are working on them, how you can use disaggregated switches just in your system. So this, last time I mentioned about Cisco. Even with Cisco's software, they use with our hardware. That is a case study, that is a project we have already, where they use the 5916, that is an aggregate switch. That is a powerful one. They use it as well with data center. And then we can have cell-side routers and backhaul, those kind of things. For cell-side gateway, so that is a POC stage we have with Cisco for a customer. Basically, we can reveal this. These are some topology you can use the switches. So, in terms of deployment for open networking switches, these are the places, and then the companies that's already experienced open networking. We already deployed open networking with them. They are around the world. So as you can see, Telefonica Germany, Telefonica Spain, Telefonica Peru, different continent, and then you can see ASBIS, and then in India as well, okay, Vietnam. So, we are talking about open networking, where we offer switches, which is a hardware, but for the software. This slide provides you an idea about the integrator ecosystem. Last time I mentioned, based on the use case you have, depending on what you want to achieve, there is a software partner you can cooperate with. If you take a look, like for example, if you're in for data center, one of our best partners is PKA. For BNG, we have RT-Break. And if it's for core routers, Altran, DriveNet, these are the software that you can use. And in terms of if for example, for data center as well, we can use eSony, or let's say any version of Sony in the market. So for eSony, we can even use with OEM vendor software like Cisco, Juniper. Because open networking switches, that is a white box. There is nothing just constrain you to use any software you want to use. When I'm talking about eSonic, what is eSonic exactly? Because you know in the market, there is Sonic, which is community Sonic. That is a free software, anyone can download it, anyone can use it. But if you want to configure it, you must have some skill, coding skill, just to use it. What we do at HCore, we have our own Sonic, and then we help customers solve some problem we believe they might face in the future. So we sell them service and a support. We call it eSonic. So for eSonic, it's open, as I mentioned, community driven, so anyone can cooperate, anyone can just try to solve a problem and then submit it to community Sonic. They are going to analyze it and then review it. If everything is okay, they are going to accept it. Okay, so it's configurable. You can modify it as you want. It depends on you. You can at the top of Sonic, you can even use your own software, or let's say there are some customers they want to personalize or say customize a specific product or a specific solution for the customers. They use any kind of software for the software, so you can use Sonic. And then it's cost effective as well, secure. The source code, when, like for example, if you find something in the community Sonic, you want to use it, you can download the source code without any problem. But you must know how you're going to use it. Okay, so what do we do? There are some challenges. We realize that it's not quite easy for everyone to develop it. We think customers might need some support. And then for the roadmap, like for example, in some other things they want to achieve in the future, so we just prepare for that. We provide eSonic support and so on. So for eSonic, probably you might ask yourself, why I have to pay for eSonic? It's a Sonic. Well, Sonic, that is something free. But at HCore, what we do, we provide a hardened solution compared to the one you can find in the community Sonic. Because you know, when something is free, there are some other features, other factors they don't pay into account, so you may not be able to use them. But when you buy eSonic, Sonic support, you get all of them. Okay, so using eSonic, what kind of a benefit? What can you get from this software? And why do you have to use it? Yes, last time I mentioned it's cost effective, and then it gives you flexibility to do whatever you want. And then you don't have to log with a single vendor. You can cooperate with plenty of the other vendors. You know, currently there are other vendors in the market, dealing with Sony software they develop. And I think the furthest way in the market address to find a better solution, like for data center. So that is really important. Once again, if you have a great skill in coding, that's going to be your best choice. So these show you, okay, so the benefit from hardened tested solution of eSonic at HCore. So how we do it? Develop, integrate, and test. Like for example, as I mentioned before, customers realize that because in the community Sonic, people always post some problem, they talk about some problem they face with Sonic. Our engineers work on that, and then they solve it, and then they submit the solution to Sonic, and then they review it. If everything is okay, they accept it, and then we have it, and this is solved. Okay, so that is the way we differentiate Sonic community and eSonic. At the top, you have the Sonic community, the branch, everything they have. But for Sonic, we make it hardened solutions, and then we modify it. We provide a solution, they accept it. We have eSonic. But if you want to work with us, like for Isisonic, these just give the difference between Isisonic and a community Sonic. These are some ways you can use it in terms of topology, data center case. We had before with other customers for Isisonic. That's another use case for cloud service agent. So we may not stay too long on it. These are the models of switches currently we have that is we are able to use Isisonic or you are able to use Sonic. Because before we didn't work on a Sonic yet just to match it this as a software for our products. So that is why we have only these few units. But currently, when we are for all the data center products we are going to launch, all of them we are going to test them with Isisonic first. These are the features you can get when you buy Sonic and Isisonic support. There is another issue in Isisonic. Like for example, if you don't want to buy Sonic from us, not even the support or service, we still can sell you what we call SAI. With the SAI package we can sell to you, that gives you the opportunity to modify it and then to develop your own software or to customize your solution. So we don't, as I mentioned, we are talking about open networking. Even for Sony, we don't press customers just to buy what we have, but we give them the option as well to do whatever they want. So there is a flexible model of business we can have with Isisonic. If you want to buy SI or if you want Sonic and Isisonic support, if you need open source, customized, so it's depend on you. And then how them pure open Sonic with ECSI, that is SI, that our engineers work on and then develop. So that is open. That is 4 types of model of business we can have with Isisonic business. So basically that's what I had to present to you today. So if you have any questions, so welcome to ask them about the products or any about Isisonic or any solutions that we have. Okay. So it seems there is no question. So thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure talking to you. So I hope that just in case that you need anything in the future, do not hesitate to contact Dimitar or to reach out. Thank you.
We'll continue with our last foreign presenter, Mr. Alex Enake. He's account manager or channel manager. Sorry for that. So channel manager for A10 Networks.
I'm not with the title, so.
Okay, you're a channel director then. He'll really brief present.
Hello everyone. No, it's okay. Guys, thank you. I know that I'm the one before the break. So, how many guys are into fast cars or something like that? I was just doing some research and I found that Audi just launched an Audi A10. Okay, so yeah. Let me find my presentation. I will actually send it to my channel manager. I'm not the channel manager, I'm the sales director, account manager for East Europe. I'm based in Bucharest. Of course, if you looked a little bit on the internet, A10 doesn't necessarily sound like a company name. Probably some of you know, but for those who don't, I hope that I will clarify it in the next slides. I will try to be efficient, so don't waste too much of your time. A little bit about what's happening with regards to, you know, the digital world, the digital transformation. We saw a lot of discussion about IoT, cloud, 5G, security threats, and so on. We had some interesting discussion during some breaks about smart cities, about different projects which are related to cloud, and you know. So basically, all these trends that we see, it will lead to more capacity, it will lead to more customers or people, services that are being connected all together, right? This also puts some pressure on the networks that the customer have, and of course, the number of security threats, they will multiply. Yeah. Before jumping in, I just want to clarify what's A10, because I had a lot of, you know, discussions about it with different customers. I called one customer in Romania and they say A10. The only A10 that I know, I think, is the highway. Of course, my answer was, I didn't know we had 10 highways in Romania, but okay, that was the next thing. So finally, you know, every small piece that they are building it, they are putting a new number. So we do have 10, it seems. You know, another guy that was really passionate about, you know, aircraft and machines and so on, they say A10 is like, you know, one of the big American planes, Thunderbolt 2, you know. So I said, okay, that's also one option. Or it can be a Thunderbolt plane landing on A10 highway, you know. But both of these, let's say, similarities have a little bit of truth, in the sense that our vision as a company is to provide always available services and also to be able to secure the networks of your customers. So this is basically what the highway does. It provides availability, you know, connecting different cities, and this type of plane, it's actually bringing you the security that you need in a case of a war. But we're not about that. A10 Networks, we are basically a cybersecurity company based in the United States, in San Jose. We are spread all over the, we have customers all over the different regions. Probably we are not so known because of the strategy that was implemented with regards to development. So we are very well positioned in the United States and APAC, Asia. Not so much into Europe. Actually, from a couple of years back, with the new VP in Europe, it started an exponential growth, and this is one of the reasons why I extended the team. Me, I was joining A10 this year, at the beginning of February. So definitely our model is to partners, to partners like yourself. So we do have some special programs in this regard. And yeah, we do have different OEM, one of it also with Dell, for example, as a server. With regards to what are the areas that we are covering, probably a lot of the names, some of the names that this sounds familiar. 70% of the business that we're doing is definitely telco. As I understand, it's not necessarily your focus, but the last 30% might be useful. We are focusing definitely on different projects with regards to enterprise, different type of banks, and so on. So I think that could be a little bit more. How do the clients relate to us? A lot of them, and this is, by the way, some survey made by a company, Tech Validate. You can find it. It's a website that you know, customers can introduce their own feedback with regards to different solutions. So what do they appreciate? They appreciate the performance that we are bringing to our solution, but also very optimized TCO according to their needs. Yeah, different other things like performance, features, and so on, usability, and not in the last thing, the last bit, I would say the support, the quality of support. We do have center covering around the sun, like in Europe, Asia, and also US. Different examples of customers in Telefonica were present. Orange, they are really appreciate the fact that we our reliability of our solution, but also reducing the security incidents. And different banks, again, the ROI that they are getting. You know, and all of this, it's really important also for the partner because it's coming with a very good margin, right? Probably this would be the most important slide with regards to our solution. You know, and you say, okay, so what is the car or the highway and which one is the airplane? So this is the solution. Basically, the load balancing and the CGN are more related to application of ability. That would be like the highway, and the rest three is basically related to security. Not all of them, I'll not focus on all of them, because not all of them they are addressing, some of them they are addressing more the telco space. I'll just mention. So the way we start as a company, we started from the balancing world. So every infrastructure that you are building, yeah, you have your data center, you start installing different switches, routers, and so on. Eventually you are providing some services, and you need to have a way to distribute those services through different, different servers. This is the first solution, and it's a very, right now the concept itself grew as it's added new functionality. It's called ADC, Application Delivery Controller. And the idea behind it's not just focusing in balancing the traffic, but also securing the information that you are serving, right? Securing the data. So those functionality actually, from our side, come all unified, right? So I was mentioning one of our advantages that the customers saw is reducing the CapEx. Another thing is the fact that we have a very optimized platform from a hardware perspective with shared memory and multi-core with shared memory. Basically, the way the information is being sent out is it's in a very fast way, right? So the latency is very low, and when you think about a bank, right, or that has a lot of transactions, this is what they need. Or if you need, let's say, any other cloud provider or an enterprise, they need the information to go very fast without having a lot of bottlenecks. And of course, if you are thinking also to the market that we are seeing right now with all the pressures on different budget, optimizing the budget, that's quite important for the customer. And this is what we are offering to the licensing model, right? Switching out, that's a solution that is designed for telco, and it's basically doing the migration between different level of IP, IPv4, IPv6, and the more services that the operator needs to offer, it needs to optimize that flux of IP because the cost of IP got like $40, $50. So if you have, I don't know, a couple of millions of IPs, users or phones or devices that are connecting, then it's quite a big pressure on these networks. So I will not talk too much about that. SSL, that's a solution that we offer for our enterprise. It's basically a solution that decrypts the traffic. Nowadays, because of privacy, we saw that a lot of our traffic, most of our traffic is encrypted. Probably some of you are using, I don't know, Telegram, or are using WhatsApp, or Viber, or so on. All of these applications, basically, they are encrypted. And for you as an enterprise, making sense from a security point of view about the traffic that you're having in your network, you need to find a way to decrypt it. There are different ways. A lot of devices, they do have it integrated, but in a lot of cases, it's not like the most optimized approach. Plus, there are a lot of solutions that don't even have a possibility to decrypt the traffic. So what we offer is basically that, create like a zone for decryption and offer you the possibility to decrypt the traffic. Thunder CFW, that's another product. I'm not entering too much. It's again designed for the telco. If you basically, all the interfaces that you are communicating, the interface toward the internet, or for example, when you go in roaming, right? You go to, let's say, invocation in Greece, whatever, it's changing basically the networks, right? You are connecting to a different operator in Greece. And all these points for entering into the network, you can create some breaches for security. And you need to protect those. So basically, this is what this device is doing. It's protecting the perimeter of those networks. And it can usually come also with the CGNAT that I already mentioned, so it's a bundled solution. And probably the last solution, I will spend a little bit time in my presentation, is the DDoS. We saw quite a big drive, especially in the last period, considering the situation across the border, but not only, it's the DDoS attacks themselves, they are very cheap to do, right? And any employee that is not happy with his company, with $150, they can create damage to the reputation of that company. And I got a lot of questions since I started with A10. I said, okay, DDoS, we know it for a couple of years. Yeah, we do have some protection, you know, and I asked them, okay, so did you suffer some more attacks and did you felt some more damage to your traffic even after you had that protection that you mentioned? Yeah, but you know, it's quite expensive. So there were like a lot of discussion in this field, which hopefully I can manage to mitigate and give some answers, I would guess. Okay. So, regarding the balancing, I'll start a little bit with the product that I found it a little bit more representative. And balancing solution, or ADCs, they are quite old as technology. But the more the traffic is increasing, the more services you're adding to the network, and the more the dynamic of the network it's getting, like from a very static network, you know, like you have an enterprise, then you want to migrate to clouds and so on. It increases the complexity, and you need to have quite the services being distributed in multiple locations. And the prognosis is that this segment actually grows. So if you didn't got yet into these type of markets, I will not say it's too late, because the market is actually growing, and it's growing strong. One of the things that is driving this market, I mentioned a little bit throughout the presentation, right? Is the migration to cloud. We all know it, people talk about it. What it means, it means that when you migrate to cloud, you don't choose one, you probably would choose two vendors for redundancy, probably, you know, Azure and AWS or whatever, Oracle, Google, and so on. By having multiple approaches, different clouds, it adds a layer of complexity for the different enterprises. So that means a lot of pressure on the IT organization and so on. So what we are trying to do is to flatten this complexity and basically provide a seamless approach regardless of the technology that you are using, whether it's a public cloud, on-prem, private or public cloud, and so on. So from our approach is to support all the underlying technologies in such a way that you have a seamless approach. And of course, I didn't mention in my last slide, but Harmony is basically our centralized management, and from here it's all the magic happens, the fact that you can integrate everything together. Of course, every unit works without it, but it adds a stronger ability to manage the ecosystem. And as I was mentioning, basically our vision is to support any underlying technology. Either you are talking about hardware, appliances on-prem data centers, you are talking about bare metal servers on which you want to install some software. A virtual solution, cloud solution, container, Docker, Kubernetes, and so on. All this underlying technology, and the more actually we are growing to the next phase of evolution of the network, microservices and so on, it will become even more relevant. You would like to have basically a seamless experience. So we are doing that. You heard even today talking about DevOps, automation, if you stayed from the beginning of the event. So that become even more representative if you want to automate and to make use of very few people that usually the customer have to manage all this infrastructure, right? The stretch of the resources, of the human resources, become one of the bottlenecks that we have right now in increasing the networks and services. Of course, another topic is that we differentiate is the way we position our licensing model, and this is basically like a capacity-based license. You have like a throughput capacity, a flexible license, and then you distribute it to different type of data centers that you need. On Azure, Amazon, a private data center, whatever. And this helps you basically to have a flexibility in the way you are managing your infrastructure. Now, I talked a little bit about at the beginning about the ADC that we optimized the TCO. You know, and what are the functionalities that normally an ADC would have? Would have the standard one for balancing, you know, different mechanisms, different algorithms for balancing the traffic, ways to cache the traffic, ways to offload the traffic, do a compression, and so on. And on top of that, you have different security functions to protect the services. The WAF, the DNS mitigation, and this is a DDoS mitigation for the services themselves, right? DNS application firewall, method to authenticate, the authentication method, integration with different tools that are doing the authentication, and so on. So these are basically the function that a standard ADC is offering. Some vendors, they offer it with different level of licenses, which can get you the cost to a very high amount. And we have another approach. We offer everything integrated in one license. And more than that, the OPEX, the renewal price, is coming from the sales price. And believe me, that was one of the incentives. By the way, this market usually is dominated by one big player, and which is working, let's say, with 1, 2 partners and so on. But even those partners found they are having problem to work with these vendors because of the increasing prices. In the last years, if you are, you know it, a lot of vendors increase the prices quite high, 10%, 15%, 20%, yeah, even more. And also that affected the renewal prices. And you can understand that you will have contracts with specific clients that you need to fulfill. Yeah, probably you have multi-year contracts and so on. So you need to find a way to keep your business running, your margin decent in such a way to work on the long term. And if you add the lead time for delivering such products, you can imagine the problems that you're facing. We are offering here an alternative. Probably we are not that known on the market, you know, but from a functionality perspective, from a performance perspective, I think 80% of 90% of those use cases can be covered, yeah, if not 100%. So I do encourage you to open the discussion more on the technical level whenever you have infrastructure projects. Okay, not too much about it. What I want to mention, again, the fact that a lot of those infrastructure are being integrated, let's say, with, via REST API, via API to different DevOps and SecOps tools, right? And that's one of the major criteria, to have a full integration. And this is what we are offering here. Yeah, just for you to have a view on how it looks, the dashboards and so on. Basically, this tool is offering the possibility to troubleshoot the situation that the customers are facing in a much faster way, drilling down to specific clients, specific flow of traffic, and understanding where is a specific latency issue or whatever. Okay. What is important here, those are basically the type of application that the customers usually deploy in their network. And for those applications, they usually need a balancer, right? They need an ADC solution. So whenever you have project with regard to SAP Oracle, Microsoft, VM, or any other type of application which is not yet mentioned here, think about A10 to round up the whole project. I'm not spending too much, just the idea that we have different ranges, different capabilities. VMs, it can start, I don't know, from 1 gig, so very small throughput, and it can go to I don't know, 150, 200, 300, and so on. Okay, so this was the ADC. The next one, I'll spend just a little bit of time to mention the concept that we are offering with this SSL decryptor, right? So as a technology itself, you can find it in multiple security devices, like a firewall. It has an IPS, it has, right? But imagine when you are doing it, when you are doing a complex infrastructure with multiple physical boxes, this device needs to decrypt, encrypt, re-encrypt the traffic, send it to the next one, decrypt, re-encrypt the traffic. It adds a latency, it adds a layer of complexity. Even from a cost perspective, it might be inefficient, right? So our approach is a little bit different. We are all working with a lot of vendors, so it's not we're not restricted by them. Our approach is to have a centralized point for decrypting and re-encrypting traffic to create a zone, a secure decrypt zone, and all those devices being served with one copy of that decrypted traffic, right? It helps. What would be some entry points in those projects? Let's say a customer needs to do a refresh for a firewall, right? Then what you can do, offer it a bigger box, because of course the SSL traffic in their network increase, or think if you can offload that functionality. Or if you have solutions like, they don't have a decryptor, right? You can offer it in this way. So our approach is to create one decrypt zone, but it's not only our approach, it's basically also the NSA. That's what they say, do it once, do it well, right? So decrypt basically one time and inspect multiple times. Of course, there are other functionalities which can create a more layered approach, and there are different other subscriptions that we add on top, like threat intel for blocking the attacks at the source, URL filtering, and web classification. And these are basically functionality that helps all this decrypt concept. It's not just the decryption, but the ability to say what traffic goes where, which traffic doesn't have to be decrypted because of GDPR purposes, and so on, right? Next one, this is the only slide that I have for CGNAT. What it does, basically, I already mentioned, the fact that it helps to extend those IPv4 networks, IPv6, and we are doing that through different algorithms, advanced algorithms. Some of our benefit is the fact that we have an extensive logging capability. Those are actually the devices in a telco network, just for you to know, that needs to store all the data regarding the transaction that you are doing. Like, so if you are communicating with a specific server downloading something, the telco needs to store those information for a period of time. In case of any lawful situation, they would need probably to show who managed to communicate with what, and if it was an attack or something like that. So it needs to be very detailed. This is a suite. It's related to our convergent firewall. Again, I was mentioning that it protects different area in the operator. And of course, there are different functions to do it. If that is something interesting, we can spend a little bit more time in the break. So I'm not spending here. Okay, the last standard, right? So the last standard that I have for today is the standard TPS. That's actually our DDoS solution. I'll spend a little bit of time because I saw it was really relevant. The conversation picked up very well in this year in all the discussion that I have in East Europe. So I'm covering basically everything from Poland down to Macedonia and Czech and East. It will be Romania and Bulgaria. So there was quite a big interaction and a lot of projects for this type of solution. Again, I mentioned because of this awareness that has been created with the war situation. Okay? But you don't need to think it just about the war. Imagine, you know how cheap it is to attack? $150. If someone wants to do some harm, $150 is not quite huge. You pay, you find it, 1 week, attack a specific server in a specific customer. It can be an unhappy employee. It can be, you know, some guy that just wants to have fun, and so on. And the damage that it does, it can be really high. So there are some researches which we are basically doing annual research and reports with regards to this the DDoS ecosystem. And what we find is that a lot of the customers, some of the customers, they said that they are reporting different targeting DDoS attack. What's a targeted DDoS attack? Basically, you have different devices that everyone is running. Imagine that your device can be infected by some other guy, and it can affect, let's say, it can, this bad guy can infiltrate in multiple devices, hundreds, thousands, whatever, and target all those traffic to a specific, you know, a specific computer or a specific service. Imagine the damage that you can do. It's like everyone wants to talk with you in the same time, and you're like, shit, come on, let's take it each kid once at a time, you know? So basically, those attacks are happening, are real, and the decision makers are actually seeing that in their networks, right? So a lot of them, okay, I will just jump a little bit to slides. They say, but I have services. Yeah, I have service. Maybe my provider is giving, or I have a cloud service, or I have, I don't know, some service that a third-party company is offering. Now, that was nice, probably a couple of years back. When you think about those DDoS, we think about the volumetry. A lot of people talking with you in the same time. Now, the thing is that the ecosystem itself evolved. We are talking about what we are calling hybrid type of attack, which are affecting different type of, it's affecting our network in different ways. We have the volumetric type of attack. We have attacks that are targeting a certain router or a certain, networking device, which is called more like the networking, network attacks, and of course the application attacks, which are targeting specific application into our network, an HTTP server, right? Or, some other application attacks that we have. And those attacks are actually not so big in volume. You know, it's probably less than a gig or maybe a couple of gig, of data. Most of those, so 75%, are not in the volumetric type of attacks, but they are more in hybrid, more advanced type of attacks. So these are becoming more and more relevant today. Now, I can totally understand through the discussion that I have with customers with regards to this topic, the DDoS, they will say, man, it's too expensive. Okay, I can get that. Let's see how expensive it can be. Plus, a lot of them, they complain, every time I need to block an attack, I'm also cutting a lot of my useful traffic. If you are a bank, that's a critical thing, right? So, a lot of things, the people, they told me, I don't have the people to work also with DDoS. I have this, I have the firewall, I have the WAF, I have everything. It's too much for me. So basically, when you are thinking about the DDoS, those are critical elements that you need to consider. To be efficient, to make sure that it's very surgical in its mitigation, not to block also the useful traffic or to try to protect the useful traffic as much as possible. Make sure that it has an automated response, right? And it can very easily integrate with your automation tool, the customer automation tool. It's scalable. You buy it now, but in case you expand your network, you can add on top of this solution, and it's affordable. In what it's a DDoS solution called affordable. So, okay, before jumping into the solutions, so on, I told you that there were quite a lot of bigger attacks. For example, these are from Romania, and you don't see it here, but there are different websites like the police, Frontier Police, the railway company, OTP Bank, probably you also have here. Even some parties were affected by this. So, and I think also in Bulgaria, I was just documenting one of the biggest attacks that happened was the Bulgarian census, right? So basically, those attacks are real, they are happening, and they have real damage. Like if it is a bank, imagine that you cannot access your portal for home banking. I don't know how it's called. Imagine how you feel as a person. You don't have access to your own money. It's becoming a real threat, and it's going to increase. Now, our solution, just for you to mention, it's a solution that was from the beginning designed with a partnership together with one of the leaders in the world, Microsoft. So we are proud to say that we are protecting at this stage the Microsoft infrastructure, so everything Office 365, Azure, Xbox, and so on. And definitely through the way the solution was discussed and developed was with this mentality, to be fast, to mitigate by itself, to automate everything. I don't need to intervene every time, and so on. So our solution it's doing, A10 solution is doing just that. We are the fastest automated response in DDoS attack. We have different mechanisms to cope also with the 0 days attack. As you know, this landscape is evolving, and it's not a static landscape. Like, okay, you had a signature for a specific attack, you know that this is attack it's affecting, you block this. No, the landscape is evolving, and you need to go to the next stage. And this is where we are. We are basically a behavioral. We are implementing different technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, and based on that, we can track the behavior of the traffic and decide automatically when a specific pattern proves to be DDoS attack. Yeah, and by doing that, first of all, what we do is we block the attacks, but removing the false positives, right? To decrease the amount of false positives. I'll not tell you, okay, there will be no false positive, but you decrease very much the amount of false positive that you have in the mitigation process. Let's talk a little bit on how we do it. So we have 3 steps in mitigating an attack. Not only us, some of this you can find it in other approaches. The way we do it is very simple. Block as much as possible the attack at the source. So if you have a threat intelligence that gathers the information from multiple sources and knows how to block the attack at source, you already decrease the attack surface that can come into your infrastructure, right? That's the first stage. And here we are collaborating with a lot of known vendors for threat intelligence. We have more than 96 million, I think, IPs which are known to be malicious. So those, we already block them at the source. No need to even enter into your network. The second stage is what we call it a 5-level adaptive protection. What does it mean? It means that if someone attacks your network, or somebody does a wrong to you, you don't just kick in, throw it out, never talk to him again, or that person, especially if it's someone dear to you, right? You try to take it in a gentle way. You did something bad, I'll not just say nothing, but I will escalate myself or my procedures in a very pragmatical but minimal invasive way. The more aggressive is the attack, the more our countermeasures attack, right? So we're trying to calibrate our countermeasures to the attack aggressiveness. And the last mitigation, way of mitigating the traffic. This is a patent that we have. It's called Zapper. And we understand the behavior of traffic, what should be considered as a normal traffic. We're tracking a lot of metadata from the traffic itself. And we can see, okay, this it proved to be a specific type of attack. And we are saying not just because of the threshold, they see the threshold. No, it's more than that, it's more complicated. I'll not enter in specifics at this stage, but if you want, we can definitely talk more. Now, this idea is very simple to understand. There are different ways to mitigate the attack. So we talked at the beginning about the complexity, right? The volumetric and the hybrid attacks. Volumetric, the best way to block them is at the ISP level, right? Or if you have a cloud provider that offers you this service. But as the attack increase let's say, it evolves, it starts to affect, as I was mentioning, also the network of application, the network of layers. So you need another approach. And this approach, the best way to block it is directly on the on-premise. Yeah? So our approach is very simple. The message that we have for telco operator is simple. Yeah, you can have your mitigation, detection, whatever. There are different vendors. But if you need an optimized solution to do the mitigation, you can use A10. And the message for the enterprise is simple. You are facing those attacks. You saw that you have a certain level of protection, but it's either blocking you in a very rigid way. Yeah, it's blocking a lot of the good traffic, but or a lot of the attacks are still targeting specific applications that you have. And then the solution definitely is the inline DDoS mitigation, right? It doesn't have to be with a big capacity. It can be, depending on his pipe, 1 gig, 5 gig. It doesn't need solution for, hundreds of gig. And those are projects that can be recurrent for you. Like you can replicate it in many of our customers. This is a little bit about the escalation method, and I think I covered it. The idea is you have the peacetime when all is good, but then as you found an attack, you apply some methods based on either some rate meeting or some parameters in the traffic, and you escalate it up to blocking whatever needs to be blocked. But you can always, this is done automatically, yeah. But you can always intervene manually. So, and for the last pattern, as I was mentioned about the 0 days attack, the idea is very simple. You can we are tracking a lot of things in the traffic. If you are familiar with a specific packet, definitely have a parameter, for example, time to leave. How many hops it needs until you reach my destination, right? You cannot fake it. If you fake it, you need to understand that someone faked it, so you can block it as a bad traffic or malicious traffic. And of course, there are different other parameters and so on. Okay. I'm approaching toward the end now. Okay. One of the most relevant segment that we are protecting is the game industry. And why they are choosing is because of our low latency, right? And very good mitigation capabilities without impacting the user traffic. Imagine your kids playing, Call of Duty, and all of a sudden in the middle of the attack, it blocks the game, right? It freezes. And it was exactly when he almost killed that guy, headshot or something. He throws the remote into the TV, whatever, it's a big crisis, right? You can imagine. So, having a low latency and manage to be able to mitigate in a very granular way, those are really important for the enterprises. Okay, the same idea as for the ADC, different flavors for different type of customers, virtual, physical, 1 gig, 10 gig, 100, and so on. A little bit toward the end, for you as a partners, where you can find those opportunities. Those are some buzzwords that you can think. when you discuss with the customers. Load balancing, slow application, high traffic, zero trust. Those are content delivery, more migration to clouds, whatever. DDoS. Those are buzzwords that open up the conversation to our data, right? So if you hear them, please engage with us, right? Engage with Dimitar, and we can give you we can evaluate if it's a case to include in those projects. Usually, and that's something that I want to mention, A10 doesn't sell necessarily by itself. DDoS it might be like a specialized project, but usually the rest of it is part of an integrated solution, right? You have like a big campus that you need to build, and you need the server, you need the switches, you need everything, and then you need the balancer for delivering the application. So it can be a good differentiator, yeah? So I do encourage you to use it. Okay. These some buzzwords regarding our solution. Automation. This is where we are really strong. We consolidate our security in one platform. We have, by the way, also Green IT. It's not probably very popular in our part, in East Europe, but in West Europe it's a very strong buzzword. Whenever they want to optimize the four-factor, reducing the power consumption and all that, that's actually something that is meaningful. And if you only think about the energy cost. So we do offer a very optimized solution compared to our competition, which have a very good, in a very small rack space. Technical support, yeah, all the centers in Amsterdam, in the States and in Asia. We do have a partner portal. It's called Affinity. It's pretty standard. You have a lot of materials if you want to organize events and so on. There you have all the information. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much. And yeah, if you have any questions, I would like to pronounce it, but every time I did it wrong. I think it's Blagodaria. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.